pretty clear that over the last few years, reading has become much more popular than it used to be. Of course, reading, the simple act of it, has always been a thing, but it's just more, I guess, trendy now and cool. And as that has happened and the community has grown, a lot of things about it have changed. Some of these things I think are really awesome, such as buddy reading, or starting your morning with reading a few chapters, or even the booktube community. But some of them I do also feel like have kind of taken away from the beauty or the simplicity that reading really is. And I think at the end of the day, we all just want the same thing out of it: to read these stories that kind of let us escape our everyday lives and experience something new. But with these stories and these experiences, we also form some habits. And I know personally over the last few years, I have adopted some habits that are great, but I've also adopted some that I really don't want to be a part of my life anymore, and I want to change to get more enjoyment out of reading. What are these habits? Well, let's talk about it. The first habit I really want to unlearn is being influenced so heavily by social media. I feel like when I was younger, reading was partially so fun because of the act of choosing a book. My mom would take me to the bookstore, I would go in, I would browse the aisles, just look at every book they had, see a cover that looked cool or a title that caught my eye, and then pick it up and read the back of the book. 9 times out of 10, I had never heard of the book in my life, but that almost made it more exciting. These days, everything is influenced by social media. You read Sarah J. Maas because she is so huge on Book Talk or Bookstagram. You read all these romances that people have been talking about for ages because you simply can't bear to miss out on these awesome books that people can't stop talking about. I just think we are too easily influenced. We see these things, people tell us to read them, and we go, great, we will. But then that takes away from finding books that we genuinely would be interested in on our own. Sure, sometimes books you read from social media are going to be really good and they are going to be really interesting, but I'm sure you're missing out on so much. At least I know I am. I feel like I used to be a lot worse about this. A few years ago, I went through a phase where I was just reading books I heard about online. And let me tell you, I read some that I really did not like. For example, the ACOTAR series. I know I always get some hate for saying I don't like that series, but I didn't. I just read it because people said to. The Spanish Love Deception. People raved about that book. Did I like it? No, I thought it was honestly one of the worst books I've read. I guess what I'm saying is I want to make my own choices, and I want to get back to those roots from when I was little, where I just go into a bookstore, I browse, and I pick up the book that looks most interesting to me just because I think the cover's pretty, or I think the title's cool, or I think the back sounds awesome, and not because I've heard about it on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube 5 billion times, and okay, I'm sick of hearing about it, let me go check it out for myself. You know? Kind of went off with that one, but now we're gonna move on to the next thing, and that is DNFing books. I've talked about this a little bit on here before, but I have this habit where I feel like I can't DNF a book, and I think that's a little problematic. I think that's a bad habit. You can DNF a book, and it can still be a great book. It just wasn't working for you. Maybe that's where you're at in your life right then, and it's just not working for you now, but it could a year from now. Maybe it's just not something you enjoy. Maybe it's not your genre. There's all sorts of different reasons, but my thing is I've always read a book through to the end. I've always been like, I'm really not enjoying this book. I'll be 70% of the way through and I will have hated every second of it, but I still keep reading because I'm like, what if it gets good? What if I miss out on the craziest ending and suddenly I love it? But that's just not realistic. Most of the time, it doesn't get better. Most of the time, I finish it and go, well, that was kind of a waste of my time, or I kind of wish I hadn't done that. And I think this contributes to my reading slump that I've been in for so long, because when I'm just not into a book, but I won't let myself stop reading it, I'm never wanting to go grab a book and pick it up and read it. And as you can understand, that would snowball into me just not wanting to read at all. So, PSA, DNFing is okay. If you want to try coming back to that book in a year, go for it. But if it's really not working for you, life is too short to keep reading it. Just set it down and pick up something that sounds more interesting to you in the moment. It's gonna be fine. And if it really matters that much to you, like, go look up the ending online. You know what I mean? Like, there are 1,000,001 books to read, and you're only gonna get time to read so many of them in your life, so read the ones that are really good to you. The next habit I want to unlearn is speed reading. A few years ago, when I would read 100+ books in a year, I would read a book every day or two. Like, that was just normal to me. I would sit there and read 200, 300 pages a day, and that came to be almost something I expected. So when I, lo and behold, start reading less books in a year and I am taking a week or more to read a book, I started to feel like something was wrong. And that's almost something else that I think maybe contributed to my reading slump, because I started to go, wait a minute, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just sit and read a book anymore? And then I realized it's because of other things, like life getting busy, or, you know, books maybe just not always being so super great to you that you feel the need to sit and read them in one sitting. Or maybe it's just the fact that I'm not a super fast reader. And so something I've kind of had to learn and tell myself is, hey, you're not going to read a book in a day, but that is okay. You don't need to read so quickly. You're still going to get the same thing out of the book. And sometimes I honestly think you get more enjoyment out of reading a book more slowly. You're able to digest it more easily and take your time with it. And you know what? The worst thing to me was when I would read a book in a day or two and it would be just so absolutely fantastic to me, but then it would end so quickly. And I would feel so sad because I would want to go back and experience it more, but I couldn't because I finished it too quickly. So in a way, I almost love now that I read, 20 pages a day, and I get to experience that world for so much more time. It's kind of awesome. So that's something I'm really trying to work on, is knowing it's okay to read more slowly. And as you can probably tell, I don't mean speed reading, like literal speed reading, because I'm not a fast reader. I just mean forcing myself to read hundreds of pages a day. I don't have to. The next habit is a big one for me, and it is not overbuying books. Yeah, that's something I'm really bad about. If you have ever seen my bookshelves, you probably know. Hold on, actually, I'm gonna preface this by saying my bookshelves are my pride and joy. I literally love them with every ounce of my being. But I would be lying if I said that I don't overbuy, because I have so many books on my bookshelf that are unread. It's not even funny. And yet I continue to buy books. And I'm a firm believer in book buying and book shopping being two separate hobbies. And I am the worst about it, trust me. So something I really want to work on is only buying books because I really, really, really want it, or I need a new book. So like, for example, instead of buying a special edition of a book because it's pretty, even though I already own a copy or two of it, I'm gonna only buy a special edition if it's my favorite book and I feel like I have to have it. Or I'm only going to buy a new book to read if it's specifically for a video, or I've already read several books that are on my shelf, so I feel like I can replace 3 books that I read with 1. You feel what I'm saying? Because overconsumption of books is a thing, and if that's what somebody wants to do, that's okay. Like, there are much worse things to be out there buying. And of course, it's so easy for me working at a bookstore to just see a book, grab it, buy it, and be done. I just want to be more mindful. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say, because I love my books, I love buying my books, but I don't need to buy so many until I've at least read a good chunk of my TBR. I feel like I'm really just going off in this, but I have one more habit that I want to talk about unlearning, and that is reading without distractions. Something that I have gotten really bad about is kind of being a screenager. I have never really been much of one to just kind of scroll on social media. However, I've been doing it a little more lately, primarily on Pinterest. Like, I'm just obsessed, but it makes it hard to read. And again, this is something that I think has contributed to my reading slump, because I will pick up a book, read 2 pages, and be like, I'm gonna go scroll on some app now. Or I'll get a text or some notification and I'll feel like I have to immediately check my phone, read what it is, and even maybe respond. Girl, you don't have to do that. Read your book. Like, the notifications will still be there. Social media will still be there. Your friends will still be there. Like, I want to read without distractions and not just so easily let myself go on my phone when I'm trying to read. I feel like that's a pretty reasonable thing to want to do. So whether that means I have to start setting my phone across the room, or just being more self-aware and self-controlled, which shouldn't be too hard, but like, maybe it is, I don't know. I just want to be less addicted to my screens and able to sit there and fully immerse myself in the story that I'm reading, because when I'm sitting there reading 1 or 2 pages at a time, I'm never able to fully get into it. And that's kind of a bummer. And I feel like I'm missing out a little bit on the book by not getting fully into it. So I'm really gonna work hard on that one for the rest of 2025 and going into 2026. So yeah, I have some more habits I could talk about, but those are definitely the main ones that I'm focusing on right now. I just feel like if I'm able to fix these things or stop doing them, it could help me as a reader as a whole, and kind of just like be able to enjoy it more again. And I know there's so many reading habits out there, so if you have any that you're trying to unlearn, or that you're in the process of unlearning, whatever, let me know. If you want to be friends, all my socials are linked down below as always. That's all I really have for you. So I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.